Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for April 16th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Severansky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Revenge of the totals last night in the NBA, Teddy, as we take a look. A huge comeback as well. Why don't we get right to it? 13.5 last night those Clippers were getting. Some people on the East Coast, including myself, Teddy, had gone to sleep thinking, boy, those Warriors are set up for another big-time playoff run. Injury, despair. A 31-point comeback. How about that, Teddy?
Yeah, exactly. And if you had questions about Golden State prior to last night's game, well, you've got questions about Golden State going forward because the Warriors don't blow games like this, all right? They might blow a cover, but you don't blow a 31-point lead at home. 7:31 left in the third when that happened. The Clippers had a 0.01% win probability. Of course, it was a Clips team. If you remember, in the regular season, they came back from 28 down to beat Boston on the road. Quote from Doc Rivers. It's who we are. We talked about that every time out. It's just who we are. Be us. We said it. Let's be us. Don't change. Keep playing the way we play. Steve Kerr's quote. We stopped playing. As soon as we got up 31, we shut down. Steph Curry, the wheels fell off. And of course, much of this had to do with Curry getting that fourth foul, which changed the rhythm, changed the rotations for Golden State, and allowed first Lou Williams to go nuts, and then the Clips to take advantage of that momentum and build on it through the fourth quarter. Because the first half of the fourth quarter, you're just wondering, well, can the Clips hang within the number? It wasn't until the latter stages, we're like, oh my God, they might win this game. And in fact, they did.
No, it's pretty crazy, Teddy, when you think about it, because, we're not talking about, you jump out to that early, it was a tough first quarter, 31-12, and you have the entire game to build on it. This lead got bigger and bigger and bigger. And obviously, as you see there with 7:31 left after the free throw, 94-63 with the best team in the NBA. One would think that the game would go into cruise control at that point, and the Clippers said, all right, well, we gave it our best shot tonight. Let's go back to L.A. and see if we can salvage and win game 3. Talking about it from a betting perspective, Teddy, when you take a look at an epic collapse like this, because we see it, and we're going to review it just a little bit with the Philadelphia 76ers, who picked up their win yesterday, but talk about it a little bit from a betting angle, saying with the next game coming in, look, we blew a 31-point lead. We have to be on our P's and Q's. Can you use that to your advantage in the next game?
Potentially, sure. But of course, the markets are going to react a lot to what the status is with DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins, there are big concerns about him. We haven't gotten the results of his MRI as we tape this morning, but there's concerns that he's going to be shut down, and that's the end of DeMarcus Cousins for this version of the Warriors. That will be a big impact in the betting markets if Cousins isn't available, especially if it's an extended period of time, which may mean that you got a little bit extra value on Golden State because Cousins, while he is a brilliant player, the Warriors have been every bit as good with him, without him, as they have with him this season. And if we see the markets react to Golden State's struggles last night and Cousins' injury, well, let's put it this way. I don't know that I want to be betting against the Warriors in Game 3.
Teddy, Golden State obviously shaken up last night, looking to rebound, heading on the road in a tie for 1-1. We looked at it previous with the Philadelphia 76ers. They couldn't have had a worse performance on Saturday shooting-wise. And you said yesterday during the show, one of the comments was, I don't think they're going to shoot that bad the following time. Now, Monday night last night, fast forward, 51 points in the third quarter. Brett Brown rips into the 76ers at the half, and they sure show up. As we said, scoring 51 points on the way to a rout of the Nets. They shoot, Teddy, 56% in the 145. Yes. Team record 145-123 victory for those 76ers last night.
Yeah, not much of a sweat for over-bettors in this one. Right side winner there. And I thought the Sixers came out and played a great first half offensively. Defensively, they didn't. And it was a 1-point game at halftime. Well, they came out in the second half. That was a run at the start of the second half. 21-2. The first 4 minutes, they scored 21 points in the first 4 minutes of the second quarter, or third quarter, I say, and it got worse for the Nets after that. Jimmy Butler talking about the halftime speech for Brett Brown. Quote, he came in here and said a few cuss words. Shocked me a little bit, to tell the truth, but I like it. That's the type of energy I love. Make sure everybody did their job, letting them know we can't have it. It's not winning basketball. We came out and did what we were supposed to do. Marjanovic, quote, they said it was the angriest he's ever seen Brown. He's supposed to do that. He gave us that energy to show us what we could do. and that was dominant. I mean, that's third quarter. Everyone was making shots. Redick, Simmons, Marjanovic, Scott was hitting threes. Embiid was dominating. They finished plus 17 on the glass. Impressive showing from Philadelphia last night. Brooklyn looked a little bit outclassed.
Yeah, it was interesting, Teddy, because when you watch the first half, it really felt like the Sixers were building. And then you took a look at the score at the half. It's a 1-point game. Really lit in them in the second half. The one interesting thing, again, that, look, momentum builds, and you're only as good as the next game that you're shooting behind the arc or whatever your shooting percentage is going to be. But talk about this game, Teddy, moving forward, where the Sixers embarrassed on their home court, booed off the floor. Everybody's blaming Brett Brown. Ben Simmons taking a lot of heat in the city. He comes back with a triple-double in this game. Is this one of those games that can ignite the 76ers, light that fire for them to protrude all the way through? Or could this be one of those, man, we went out there and showed them. Now we go to Brooklyn, and maybe Brooklyn gets hot in this environment?
Well, that's the $1 million question right there. I love Simmons doing this to the crowd last night when they got that big lead in the third, saying, hey, you were booing. I want to hear the cheers right now. Certainly, look, Philadelphia has NBA final potential. When you look at their big four, and when they get contributions from the supporting cast like they did last night, they're as good as anybody in the East. Now, to do that game in, game out in the postseason is something we haven't seen from the Sixers yet. In theory, it might be a letdown spot. Philly's better than Brooklyn. Philly's A game, and we saw that certainly in terms of low post. The Nets relegated to shooting threes. The Sixers able to bring the ball in the paint, able to dominate the glass, and able to get the good looks by the basket. That's the type of thing that teams that win series are supposed to do. If Philly loses game 3, in my mind, that's a big X mark against the Sixers. They're supposed to put their foot down right about now.
Yeah, Joel Embiid played well last night. We'll see how that knee holds up for the rest of the series. We'll be checking in each and every game. Sixers go to Brooklyn on Thursday night. And we'll certainly have an update on that later in the week. Teddy, when running backs feel like holding out, and some of the better running backs in the NFL do, the NFL teams sit back and say, we'll meet you. We'll see you when we see you. When these big-time quarterbacks who know they're worth their weight in gold say, I need to be signed 5 months ahead of the season start, and if it doesn't, we're not talking after it, Teddy. Money talks. Last night, a monster deal signed by Russell Wilson in the middle of the night, $65 million guaranteed. And Teddy, some people say, look, that's ridiculous for a quarterback. If anybody who is a gambler or has watched the NFL over the last, 5 to 10 years, Russell Wilson is worth every single penny, and it just goes to show you quarterbacks rule the world.
Yeah, I mean, look, how many Super Bowls did the Patriots win without Tom Brady? You know what I mean? Exactly. I mean, The quarterbacks are worth something, and Russell Wilson has been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and continued to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. They're only paying him through his he's 30 now, so they're paying him through the time that he's 35. We're not talking about ancient. Last year, 35 touchdowns, 110.9 QB rating, only 7 picks. Only Breeze and Mahomes had a better QB rating than Russell Wilson last year, and neither one of those guys is making the type of plays with his feet that Russell Wilson has played. He deserves every penny, if not more, and it was a smart move by the Seahawks to get the job done within Russell Wilson's window of it's not a window of opportunity. Russell Wilson's window of when I'm going to deal with the contract. Seahawks got it done. Correct move for Seattle.
Hey, Teddy, but Bobby Wagner sits at middle linebacker, one of the single best defensive players. If we take a look at the odds here, the Seahawks sit plus 225 to win the NFC West, plus 1,200 to win the NFC, and plus 2,500 to win the Super Bowl. Let's just say if Bobby Wagner wasn't there, how much do those odds actually change here, Teddy, in the offseason?
I would say none. I don't know that Bobby Wagner is going to affect the betting markets in that regard when it comes to future wagers, even 5 cents.
Exactly. So when we take a look at the other side, let's just say the demands weren't met and Russell Wilson says, I'm not playing, and they deliver him to, let's just say, the New York Giants for 3 first-round picks. Those odds skyrocket. I mean, what a great player. He's the one guy, and I knew Joe, because, look, the offensive line is everything in the NFL. But it just seems to me like it doesn't even matter, Teddy, who the Seahawks put on their front 5. Russell Wilson always makes it work.
Russell Wilson has made more plays under pressure. I mean, ridiculous throws, scrambling out of the pocket under pressure than any QB that I could think of. Certainly the last 3 years. That's when, the Seahawks offense every year has been below par. Last year they really made a conscious effort to run the football, and it served them well. Of course, it was the first time they had a decent enough offensive line that they could actually get some penetration up front. More of that in 2019 in terms of offensive line play. and Seattle once again will be a dangerous team in the NFC West.
Teddy, overnight line movers here. We take a look at SBRodds.com to get the latest lines. Always check it out. These lines are moving daily, by the minute, by the hour. If you take a look at this one, Teddy, people believing in those Raptors out here, now favored by double digits. Offshore opened at Chris at -8.5 and now sits at 10. As we're looking right now, Teddy, at SBRodds.com at the time of filming, I'm seeing 10.5s out here now for the Magic Raptors game. Obviously, we know the Magic did win game one. Big time game needed for those Toronto Raptors here.
Yeah, and boy, the market's certainly going in that direction. And of course, we saw last night the zigzag come into play in both games. The Clips winning outright in Golden State plus, and obviously the Sixers blowing out the Nets. So the winner of game one was the point spread loser in game two. The market's expecting more of the same for that here. A lot of pressure on Kyle Lowry tonight. Nick Nurse had an interesting quote about Lowry. I don't think they did anything special on Lowry. I think he had some really good looks, that he's normally going to knock down. We need to get him involved a little bit offensively. We need to get some points from him. He was still impacting the game greatly. All right, he impacted the game greatly. You lost at home again, and now you're laying a bigger price. Obviously, it's been game ones that have been the bigger problem for Toronto. I can understand the money. The zigzag is in play here when it comes to the theory of betting these two teams. But the Raptors, for me, at least personally, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Very difficult team for me to get the window right now, laying 10 with.
Teddy, the people want points out here in Oklahoma, Kansas City. Why am I even saying that? It's ridiculous. The Thunder tonight, let's try that again, versus the Portland Trailblazers. 4-point swing, Teddy, turns into 5. The line opened up here at SBRodds.com, 218. Now I'm seeing 223. Teddy, the people want points.
They do. Of course, some of it has to do with Paul George, who did not have a great game one, to put it mildly. But his quote, shoulders good after Monday's practice. I'm pain-free. It's well enough now to throw out any injury problem as an excuse. It didn't have an effect on my game. I just hadn't shot or picked up a ball for 4 days. It was about rhythm. So the market's saying George is going to be fine. Quote, we didn't make shots. It cost us. I'll take a lot of that responsibility. Good looks I had and missed. That's what today's practice was for, yesterday's practice, to get a better rhythm, a better flow. OKC shot under 40% from the floor in the game. They were only 5 of 33 from three-point range. The betting markets expect a significant turnaround in both of those stats tonight, hence all the over money.
Teddy, taking a look at some Major League Baseball here. Originally lining this game up with the Rockies and the Padres, looking at the over, which rises from 7 to 7.5. But I can't keep my eyes off checking out some of these odds here. Opening at 145 as a favorite for the San Diego Padres tonight, all the way down to a pick'em. So a wild line movement, a little bit in the total, but even more so in the side here, Teddy.
Yeah, the markets really like John Gray at Petco. And of course, the Rockies, after that really rough start to the season, have started to come alive over the last couple of days. And Gray, he's owned San Diego at Petco. His quotes, this is from last September. I always like pitching in San Diego. I like this mound. It was another dominant showing against the Padres. His last 3 starts in San Diego, he was only giving up, I think, a total of 3 runs during that span. So certainly the market's looking at John Gray as being a bet-on guy here. And, the other kid, Margevicius, 4th major league start. He had never pitched a regular season game above the Class A level coming into this season. The market's definitely not excited about this particular prospect for San Diego.
Segment number 3, Teddy, one of our favorite segments here. We got a triple header tonight in the association. Let's get it started right away with the Magic looking to steal game 2. Just previewed it just a few moments ago. Raptors favored by 10.5. Total of 212. Moneyline split plus 425, minus 580. 8 p.m. tonight live from Toronto, Ontario. The Magic are 45-35 against the number on the season, 30-22 against the number as a dog, and 5-1, Teddy, coming in hot in the month of April. If we take a look at the Raptors, 38-43 against the spread on the season, 29-37 against the number as a favorite. We've seen in the past, Teddy, Toronto struggles in game 1. Big bounce back here tonight. At least the odds makers are looking to move that number higher at this point.
Yeah, the Raptors now 1-10 straight up in openers of first round series in franchise history. 2-14. Homo. Yeah, 2-14 in game ones of any postseason series. Yeah, it's been a pretty disastrous game 1 record for Toronto. And of course, the markets are saying, oh yeah, well, what we saw game 1 is not what we're going to see game 2. This Orlando Magic team, despite the fact that since the end of January, since February 1, Orlando's got the third best record in the NBA. Only the Rockets and the Bucks had a better winning percentage. Now, some of that was schedule related, but this team's been no joke. DJ Augustine, who hit the game winner in game number 1, quote, these last few months, especially since after the All-Star break, I think we have one of the best records in the NBA. It's just a mindset that we came in with. Our goal was to make the playoffs and not just make it. We want to make some noise and win a series or two. We feel like we can. We believe in ourselves. Coach believes in us. And I feel like that's all we need to get some good wins and build momentum. Look, I mean, the Magic shot 48% from three-point range. Toronto didn't. Certainly the markets expect a reversal for the Raptors. But when you're talking about 8.5, I'm betting up to 10, and now a team with a track record of failure in the postseason, with all the pressure on them, I can't lay it. I just can't do it. I understand Toronto's better, but this price is not my price, not my buy price for the Raptors this evening. I have to take Orlando plus if I was going to get involved.
Talking about pressure tonight, Teddy, on those Nuggets in elevation, looking to bounce back on their home court versus the Spurs. Nuggets currently sit at -7. If we take a look at SBRodds.com, Teddy, some of these lines opened up 5, 6 in that range, now sitting at 7 across the board. Total of 208, money line split plus 240, minus 280, 9 p.m. tonight on NBA TV, live from the Pepsi Center. Spurs 44-37 against the number on the season, 19-13, Teddy, against the number as a dog. Only 20-20 overall against the spread on the season. Nuggets 42-41 against the number on the season, 31-28 as a favorite, and 25-17 at home this season. Big game, looking to rebound as well here.
So going into this series, the mainstream media, for Denver at home's been dominant. San Diego on the road's been terrible. And the Spurs' defensive numbers on the road aren't any good, and Denver's offensive efficiency numbers at home are insane. Well, Nuggets didn't make shots, and they had some open looks, but San Antonio double-teamed the Joker. Jokic, every time he had the ball, they held him to 10 points and 14 rebounds, 14 assists. He probably could have had 20 assists if his teammates would have hit open looks, but they didn't, and that's a concern. Greg Popovich, quote, I thought Denver had a lot of great shots they missed. Our defense could have been better. We're fortunate they missed some of those shots. The Spurs didn't hit a ton of shots in that game either. Necessarily. DeRozan 18, Aldridge 15, combined to shoot 33% from the floor between them. Michael Malone, Denver coach. We lost that game because, yes, we couldn't make shots, but you have to give a ton of credit to the role players. Forbes, White, Rudy Gay. I thought the slam by Derek White as Denver was making a run was an absolute difference maker for San Antonio in game 1. We talk about game 2. Here's Aldridge. It's not about one game. It's about the series. We didn't play great, and we got the win. That's a benefit for them. But certainly, we talk about a Nuggets team, 42% shooting for the game, didn't hit threes, didn't get much from their best players. The market's expecting a pretty strong bounce back for Denver tonight. The question is whether San Antonio can come with that same intensity or they exhale after getting the 1-0 series lead, kind of like Brooklyn did last night in the third quarter.
Playoffs in the Rip City. Teddy Trailblazers look to take a vice grip on the series over OKC. Just previewed a few moments ago with the lines. Opened up some outlets, Teddy, at -3. Now down to 1.5. We also talked about the over-under moving up 5 points to 223. Moneyline split +110, -130. The Thunder 42-41 against the number on the season. 12-8 against the spread as a dog, and 10-8 against the spread as a dog on the road. Portland moneymakers all season long. 46-37 to the number. 32-20 as a favorite. 25-17 at home. Big game tonight, Oklahoma City. Teddy, this is one of the series where we thought that Oklahoma City might be able to overcome and win this one. They need this game here on the road tonight.
So we saw zigzags in both games last night, and the markets are moving to zigzag in all 3 games on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that over the last 20 years, betting the zigzag theory is no better than a coin flip. Betting the team off the game 1 loss prior to game 2 or off the game 2 loss prior to game 3. You're betting on whatever team lost last game and expecting them to come with more intensity. A lot of concerns here, obviously, about Paul George. The quote that I had yesterday, there was more tape on his shoulder than I've ever seen on an NBA player. Well, the quotes from George now are, I got my practice in. I feel better. We touched on that a little bit earlier. We talked about the line movers for this ballgame and all the money coming on the over for tonight's contest. Paul George, encouraged by the way that they rallied back. They were down 19 in the second. They were only down 1 within the final 3 minutes. Quote, we fought our way back. We're a good team. We're confident. We're in a great place. We have to come out Tuesday and take it to the Blazers, be the aggressive. The Blazers did what they were supposed to do, win on their home floor. A series is about adjustments. We'll adjust. We'll be ready for Tuesday's game. Like Portland played great. Portland did for a team that had lost 8 straight playoff games and lost their opener. They've been every bit as bad as Toronto in that regard in recent seasons. And they had a big lead and then played like they were falling asleep. Didn't take good shots. 19 turnovers. Gave up 18 offensive rebound. Damian Lillard, quote, "There's a lot of stuff we could have done better. Things the Thunder could have taken advantage of but didn't. Like allowing Paul George to get some open looks at threes that he didn't make. We let them get into transition. We gave them too many second chance opportunities. We lost too many guys on defense. Didn't cost us the game. We'll have to be better in game 2. Zach Collins, a really good quote here for Portland. It's a good feeling being up 1-0 in a series, but also knowing how much better we can play. Lillard, quote, "We've just won 1 game. It feels good to get back on the winning side, but it's more about how we can sustain it. A series can change quickly. We can't forget that." Good game tonight. This is a pick'em type contest. It genuinely is, and I wouldn't be surprised. You ask me which game is most likely to go into OT tonight, it'd probably be this one. Very difficult for me to get involved with a play on the side. I do have a slight lean towards the over on the total.
How about those 3 games, Teddy? Set up nicely there. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern time. So you get a nice little triple play that we just went over. Off the mic segment, Teddy, we saw last night Russell Wilson breaking the bank in the NFL. NFL next week, Teddy, going to have the draft. On Wednesday night, we're going to have the schedule release. Now, Teddy, we all know all the sharps in the business, once the schedule comes out, immediately fire on their team totals for next year because you can gain so much from the schedule release. It's a lot of fun out here to take a look at the schedule release. Yes, it's a lot of fun for the NFL draft, but a lot of things still have to fall into place before the season starts out here. But more importantly, Teddy, that betting show will begin NFL daily previews in the month of May. It's already football season, Teddy.
It sure is. And look, for the future markets, football season, essentially, I mean, we'll see something after the draft, after the schedule gets released. We'll see a lot after the draft. The markets legitimately start to move in a big way after the draft, and then they kind of sit around all summer. So what we're going to try to do here on that betting show is give you a chance to get involved with some of these wagers on the early side as we go through all 32 NFL teams. Schedule matters. Schedule matters a lot, all right? And it's not just the teams who you're playing, it's when you're playing them, how many teams you're getting off buys, how many teams are getting off a Thursday night game, how many teams have to travel off a Monday night game. There are all kinds of little nuances. Donnie and I will do our best to give you as much knowledge as we have in terms of the nuances of this NFL schedule as soon as it comes out.
Can't wait. It's almost here, Teddy. NFL season on the horizon, NBA playoffs. We'll carry you all the way through right here on that betting show. Thanks for tuning in for April 16th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow once again on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. We'll catch you tomorrow and go over all the carnage in the NBA and set you up for the week of Major League Baseball. Take care, folks.